People who were here from the very beginning. I'm looking over at Jackie. And people who have been here a lot more recently. And you're standing right now, or sitting right now, in what I think is our fourth home, if you include my dining room table. So I set up Mindful Therapies along with two others, Chris Jackson, who was here earlier, I think has disappeared, and Graham Armstrong. And one of those, I didn't know what we didn't know. Got a constitution off the internet, kind of winged it a little bit. And it was all on dining room table. And we've had a couple of moves since then, and now we're here. And I think everyone's had a bit of a tour. So hopefully you've used your imagination and you can see what it's going to become, which is very exciting. So it's not quite finished. Hopefully you can see the potential. So this is going to be used for meditation and yoga, amongst other things. We're going to have counselling, we're going to have all kinds of group work and training, and we're just open to suggestions as well. And again, as we say all the time, this is about community. We're wanting to create a community, a mindful community here. So it's not about the space, it's about the people. But this space is essentially going to allow us to do a lot more. It's already quite a bit quieter than we've experienced before, which is nice. And Victoria's going to take over the world when it comes to the counselling service. She's like, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, we're going to expand. So that's really exciting. So I think I know pretty much everyone here, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rachel Jones-Wild, one of the founders, and 10 years ago, I was coming up to my 30th birthday, so yes, you can work at hold down. And I had a sense that, you're coming up to a milestone, so I should know what I'm doing with my life. I tend to have my existential wobbles on the year before the milestone. So when I got to 29, I was like, I've got a year to figure everything out. So in the space of that year, finished my breathworks training, finished my counselling training, and set up Mindful Therapies. So I had a bit of a sense of where I was going. So I just completed breathworks mindfulness teacher training. And part of what you have to do as part of breathworks training is you run an 8-week course, like what they call a practice course, and you're not allowed to make any money off it. So you charge enough to cover costs, like the book and the CD. Remember CDs? I shouldn't say that we're selling CDs. We still believe that they're a thing. So I think it was 20 quid a head we were charging for this course. So for an 8-week course, very cheap. We were oversubscribed. It was very popular. People were, like, yeah, this has really helped. And so I was like, right, I've got my qualification now. I'm going to charge the going rate, which at that point was about 180 quid. And people were like, well, yeah, great. I'd love to do that, but I don't have 180 quid. How can I afford that? And I was like, oh, okay. So the people who need this are not necessarily the people who can afford this. And so Mindful Therapies was born. That's essentially what this is about. This is about making mindfulness affordable for the people who need it. And I remember when we came up with the name, at the time it was Mindfulness Based Therapies, so a bit of a mouthful. But it was very important that it was therapies, not therapy, because there's so many different ways into mindfulness. So for some people, mindfulness is, sitting with your legs crossed and meditating, and for some people it's yoga, for some people it's art, for some people it's a particular way of discussing and understanding the world, and for me it's very much about the attitudes and actually discussing how we kind of fit that into our lives. So having that plural was really important, just having that sense that there's so many different ways in to that experience. So over the last few weeks I've been putting together a history of mindful therapies, so there are copies of that over there. I've been frantically printing over the last couple of days, haven't we? The poor printer doesn't like us. And it's been really nice kind of reflecting back, because I think sometimes we're so busy doing it. I think particularly at the moment, there's probably like 10 people's worth of stuff being done by, there's more than, however many people there are, because there's a lot of us. but there's twice the amount of work that we're all kind of like doing every job. Which is lovely, but I think we can end up not really stopping and pausing and going, oh wow, that was great. Oh wow, we did that. Oh, and so actually reflecting over 10 years has been quite something actually. So we've worked with a lot of organisations, we've worked with a lot of individuals. I suspect Victoria's got the numbers in terms of individuals we've worked with. We set up a counselling service. We taught children and staff in 24 schools in Darlington in the space of a year. But it's actually more than 24, wasn't it?
It was more than 24 schools that we worked in, but it was 24 completed the whole thing. It was over 20 months.
I just remember being in 24 schools in 1 week. that was full on. We've written courses, online courses, in-person courses, we've written some books, and we survived the pandemic. So I think that's quite something, just the fact that we've just got through a pandemic and now it's like, oh yeah, it becomes quite a normal thing to think about. But it's not been an easy 10 years. It's like a catchphrase that I seem to use, which is, I think we're on the cusp of greatness. And I say this all the time. It's like, it always feels like we're just about to break through into things being easier. And then it's like we get some good news, and then we get a disappointment. We win, we lose, and yet we're still going. And as I'm sure you're aware, like mental health is very much on the agenda in terms of the media, in terms of talking about mental health and letting go of stigma. But that's not necessarily translated into greater investment in an intervention that has been proven to be very successful for a lot of different people and a lot of different needs. So we're still waiting for that investment to come our way. And we live, it's weird, isn't it? Because on the one hand, we know the value of stopping. We know the value of just being and being kind to ourselves and being present. And yet, we live in a world where it's about time pressure, financial pressure. It's about the bottom line. And so for individuals, it's like, oh yeah, this is a really good idea, but I haven't got time. For businesses, it's like, yeah, it's a really good idea to do this for our staff, but it would be really helpful, but we haven't got time, and where would we do it, and when would we do it, and the bottom line. So we're still pushing at these doors quite a lot. And I think sometimes people can think, oh, mindfulness, it's a little bit woo-woo, it's a bit namby-pamby, the dreadlocks have gone. Literally gone. I've got a photo of me putting them in the bin, they've gone, they're out of bin. Proper letting go. But actually what we're doing, all of us who have got some part in Mindful Therapies, the fact that we are here and we are choosing to stop, we're choosing to pay attention, that's radical. And can you imagine what it would be like if everybody did this? What would the world be like if everybody did this? That's what kind of inspires me. So, lots of thank yous that I could say. We are a small organisation, and we are relying on a small group of people to do a lot. Mark, you joined in 2014, and we kind of, I was like, what's your job title again? I think it's Business Development Director, something like that. But basically he does everything. It's updating the website, it's everything other than the dishes, I think. But
it's photographic evidence.
Oh yes, I have taken. It's such a rarity we've taken photos. But actually Mark's an inspiration because you do everything. You are the person that I turn to when I feel like I need a grown up. And in the last 8 years, you've been doing all of that whilst managing Crohn's disease. And I think you are an inspiration, and I think we don't tell you that enough, actually. And Victoria, you joined in 2016, I think. originally as a student on placement, and then we haven't let you leave. And now counselling service coordinator, managing and supporting volunteers, doing the dishes, nagging Mark, and a bit of everything else. And we've also had support from lots of volunteers over the years, and we just wouldn't be able to do any of what we do without like every volunteer who has stepped up over the years through being a smiling meter and greeter, being someone who makes the tea, being someone who's on the board, who leads meditations, who does shredding, who does laminating, who does counselling, loads of who's on the board. So lots and lots of people involved in doing lots of things to help make this what it is. And I'm particularly grateful personally this year because this was my first baby, and my second baby who's currently in nursery, has kind of taken a little bit of my attention away, and there's something quite scary about going, okay, I'm going on maternity leave. We're a very small team. Off you go. I'm going to be a bit distracted, and